بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Du'as of afiyah and barakah for everybody watching. Inshallah ta'ala, bi'iznillah. Alhamdulillah, we are upon the month of Dhul Hajj, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us the blessings of this blessed month. The people, the Hajis that are, mashallah, already there in Medina and Mecca and are flying there, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their Hajj. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring ease and peace in their journeys, and us, the ones who are left behind, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to spend these 10 blessed days with dhikr and doing good deeds. Ameen. Ameen, Ameen. Jazakallah khair, everybody. Okay, so the topic that I selected today was keys to parenting kids with PTSD. I know it's not something that everybody might relate with, and alhamdulillah for that. We do not want to have everybody having PTSD, but the points that will be discussed are very good, not just for the children, but for the adults as well. So if you are somebody who might have had childhood traumatic experiences and never went to a therapist or never got coached about it, and somehow because of life and how life went along, you coped with it, but now you have yourself as a highly sensitive person, or your children are highly sensitive, or which, like the topic suggests, a child who has gone through a traumatic experience, these pointers are going to be helpful. These are interchangeable, like whatever points will be discussed are interchangeable between adults and children both. So inshallah ta'ala, let's very quickly jump into it. So not all traumatic experiences result into the post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Most children and teenagers who experience a tragedy do not develop PTSD, which is a very good thing. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah for that. But majority of them will experience trauma impacts. Reactions to extremely stressful events are common. Most people experience unpleasant emotions, trauma-related thoughts, and distressing sometimes, which are distressing symptoms. This could induce for a little period of time, occasionally days or weeks. Most people can discover ways to cope with this kind of emotion, or this kind of feeling, or these kind of thoughts, and they basically need support, and they need comfort, and they need reassurance, and inshallah ta'ala it will become better. However, the distinction between the childhood PTSD and the adult PTSD, although PTSD strikes in adults in the same manner as it does in children, the symptoms and causes are identical, but adults can talk. They can express more, or they can be more open about it, or they can actually figure out that something is really off. While the children, usually, if they're younger children, they have trouble understanding. The children and teenagers with PTSD, they commonly they have disturbing flashbacks to the trauma. They experience nightmares or sleep issues. They have unpleasant recollections known as flashbacks that give the impression that the event is currently occurring. Avoiding things that bring up the traumatic memory, be more easily shocked, worried, or anxious, and experience more moodiness, sadness, anger, or a diminished capacity for the enjoyment of life. So those are some of the things that you might want to look into, or those are the red flags that you might want to see if you think that your child is going through a traumatic experience, right? What might how might you say that, oh, my child might be suffering from a PTSD symptom, or maybe this trauma isn't just something that's just going away, or they're not handling it properly. um, the family, the community, the conversations happening around the child. Okay, sorry, my screen just went blank for a second, and I was like, what happened to StreamYard? Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So the magnitude of the incident, how grave the incident was, how physically injured was the child, or somebody else that the child care about, right? So all of this, and Was the youngster generally present at the incident? Did they see the incident occur to another person, or were they the victim? Was the event broadcasted on the television for the kids? Did they overhear a loved one discussing what occurred? Um, do the child's parents think that the child is speaking the truth? Again, the acknowledgement and validation. If a child says that they have been abused, or if something bad has happened to them, or if they're scared of somebody, is the parent being present? Is the parent actually saying that, okay, you know what, I believe you, right? Um, Children and families may possess traits or resources that can help them withstand the negative consequences of traumatic events and their aftermath, depending on the culture, race, and ethnicity. This is also known as a protective factor. For example, coming from a Muslim background or a religious background, for that matter, right? Coming from that kind of a background, believing in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, spiritually accepting that this dunya is a test, raising that kind of a mindset, being more grateful. Uh, Naturally, the attitude of gratitude is ingrained in our everyday life, in our system. Reading the Quran, understanding the Quran. Now, all of this is supportive of a environment where the stress or the trauma or the PTSD might be happening. However, these are the things that help to cope with the situation. Therapy, of course, nobody can deny that going to therapy, going to professionals who can help in this time is extremely important. In this time is extremely important. Two things I would like to say to the parents, like people are of different temperaments, and I do understand that, but if you're a parent who thinks that they are also at the verge of a nervous breakdown, and they have had a very stressful life, and they are running two jobs and taking care of the bills, and the child is distressed or has had a PTSD situation, you do not need to take on that responsibility as well. Go to the therapist with your child as soon as possible, and take that route, right? Number two, if you think that you are emotionally and resilient and strong enough to be able to hold those conversations with your child, then definitely start at home, but also take secondary help, right? Take help from other people, or especially the professionals. So, techniques for distraction can also aid in diverting your child's attention from anything that could be bothering them. For example, playing games, having activities, cooking, painting, drawing, having fun, meditation exercises, engaging them in sports, something or the other, right? Creative endeavors, listening to your child. React immediately. Have coping mechanisms ready for when your child exhibits PTSD symptoms. For example, if, for instance, providing them with a quiet, peaceful place. Usually, we've heard this example a lot, that when they observe PTSD adults, a certain sound, a certain flashlight, a certain something might just trigger their trauma, and the memories of that trauma, and they might feel as if they are in that situation already. Um, a very common example is that when a child has had an experience on a swing or on a ride where they went and they had extreme fear, and then something bad also happened. They got hurt, or they bumped into something, or they fell off of it. Usually they don't want to go back to that ride. Even as in adults, when they're sitting in that same ride, they feel as if, oh my god, this bad thing is going to happen to me, right? So it is something that stresses them out. So avoiding those situations, and the other way of parenting during that, it's okay, you do it twice and thrice and you'll get over it. It depends on the person. Yes, some people are strong enough that they do get over it, whereas in younger children it's difficult. It's actually giving them more trauma, so it's better to avoid it. um, Grounding strategies. So one of the grounding strategies is the five things, right? The adults are also taught the same thing. And they what are the five things? The five things are such. I just want to see that the mic is not. Yeah. Okay. So the five things are: Identify the five things that they can see, the four things that they can hear, the three things that they can smell, the two things that they can touch, like they can touch it, and one thing that they can taste. That grounds you into that situation. It helps you feel present in the moment. Even if you're an adult and you are having an anxiety attack, this is not just for PTSD people, but if you're having an anxiety attack, if you think that I'm getting overwhelmed. So, to ground yourself back, the five things activity is best for adults and for children both. Another one is the breathing exercise, like the box breathing, like stop, breathe in, four counts in, then keep the air in, one, two, three, four, then breathe out with your mouth open, stop. Coming back to the normal position, then again breathe back in, pause for, breathe in for four, pause for four, breathe out for four, right? Now, what are the kids' trauma recovery steps? So these are the steps. Number one, rebuild trust and safety. That is absolutely important. I have seen adults who, when put into a little bit of stressful situation, or who are in a situation where they do not know, or they feel or triggered, or they feel as if they cannot trust the adults around them in a relationship or in a situation, they get triggered very easily and they make messy decisions, or they shut down, which becomes very difficult for the relationship to function, right? So what is happening with them? They are unable to trust. They're unable to trust. And why are they unable to trust? Because in their childhood, when something had happened to them, when something traumatic had happened to them, they were not given the acknowledgement or the validation that, listen, I trust you. It is not your fault. Or even if this was not what you were trying for and this happened to you, this happened to you. Just yesterday, I was coaching a teen, and I said, okay, so what do you think is going to happen to you if you go for therapy, or if you do these things, or something like that? And she said, um, I will, I will maybe change myself. That's how she said it, actually. I will change myself. I said that, so do you blame yourself that something is wrong within you and you are not trying to get better? And she said, well, what other reason is there that I am feeling the way that I'm feeling? Because I am making myself feel like that. You see, the sense of shame and the sense of guilt just settles in you when you keep hearing that, why aren't you trying hard enough? Why aren't you trying hard enough? Sometimes it is not about trying hard enough. It is just the moment, just the enough trust, just the enough aspiration, inspiration, and amount of love needed for that gap to be filled, and then they're good to go. But of course, that requires a lot of patience from the parent side. Reassure your child that they're safe. Encourage your child to engage in things that they find enjoyable. And once a person is going through trauma, this is for the adults and for the children, usually people find nothing enjoyable. Once the things that they used to find enjoyable, they start feeling as if that is not enjoyable anymore. However, to bring back that enjoyment or to find out something new is the parents or the adult's responsibility in the child's scenario, or the caretaker's responsibility, or the person or the other responsible adults around this teenager. Keep your routines. Routines are absolutely important. Like, for example, we go to school, or we have our online classes, or we go for night walk, we go for evening walks, or we have this item for dinner, or we have this ice cream usually on these weeknights, etc., etc. Have certain time of a certain type of routine, or we go for to the masjid, or we go for iftar, or we bring people home, we invite people home, etc., etc. Plan ahead and talk about it. I cannot express how important it is to plan, to talk about the events that you're planning for your child or for the family ahead of time. Some people might say, well, I don't want them to become anxious about it and start overthinking about it. That is also one of the things that happens. But the thing is, if you talk about it, and even though they become anxious about it, they will ask the questions, and they will feel, number one, they will feel as if they can trust you. Number two, they will feel as if your opinion matters to them, their opinion matters to us. Number three, they can whatever overthinking they're doing, they can ask you the questions, and you can, inshallah ta'ala, be able to respond to that. Of course there are boundaries, and of course you might say like, listen, we've discussed enough, let's just not discuss further if you're getting tired of it, right? Remember what you said. Being trustworthy will help you regain your child's trust. Follow through your commitments. That's extremely important. Please follow through your commitments and act consistently. Never be embarrassed to confess that you don't know the answer, which is a human thing. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. Let's just find out about it. Keep in mind that kids frequently personalize situations. This is not just about the PTSD situation. Normal kids too. Sometimes when they're anxious, when they're going through elevated emotions, they might personalize the situation. Even if something horrific happened like outside of the home that they had nothing to do with, they would think like, it happened because of me. So boost your child's confidence and assist in in helping them, and in helping them in their thought process, and letting them know that it's okay, that it did not happen to them. Minimize the media exposure. Again, um, if there are things on the media, on social media, or on TV, or in cartoons that might trigger their trauma, then we need to be careful of that. For example, excessive exposure to visuals of crisis or upsetting occurrence, such as continuously watching video snippets on social media or websites. Reduce your child's exposure to distressing media. Keep your child away from violent films or images. A child or teen may find reading the newspaper less traumatic than watching. How many of us actually read newspapers? Not many, but some. But at least we do read the posts, right? We can scroll through them. Engage your child in conversations without distraction of TV or phones or video games. Do your best to establish a setting where your child feel free to express their emotions and to ask questions. Now, I understand that on paper this idea looks fantastic, that have a safe environment and have a safe, quiet space for the child to have conversations. But as a parent and as a coach, and somebody who has been around children for some time now, I do understand that you need to be the safe place. You as a person, as an adult, our actions, our body language, our the things that we are saying to ourselves, the facial expressions, they need to be such that a child feels comfortable to come up and talk to you. It might be during the drive, it might be during while you're working in the kitchen, it might be while you're on your laptop doing doing something important. But when they feel that they can approach you, and if they feel that they can approach you, and if you've reassured them of that you know what, I'm here for you, and then you've followed through that statement of yours, then alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Being truthful, encouraging physical activity, giving your child reassurances, inviting them to taking decisions, inviting them to giving you feedback on certain things. Basically, I know that it sounds as if this is what we need to do with every child, and that is the reality. All of these things are something that are in our adab, that are in our akhlaqiyat, that are in helping children have a good character trait, have good personality, helping them build confidence in relationships, and trusting other people. All of this, it's just not for the PTSD cases, it's for anybody. But with the PTSD cases, again, you have to be more careful, more aware, right? Handling the child's emotions. Now we start with the like handling it. For example, you can say that start educating them about emotions so they become aware of the names and the things that may initially appear vague or overpowering. uh, I can tell that you're angry, or I'm astonished that you were being so cruel today, or I'm sorry that we can't go visit whatever place that you wanted to visit. Talking about the emotions and helping and naming and labeling emotions um, through stories, through movies, asking them, what do you think this character is feeling? If you were if you were this character in this movie or in this episode, how would have you felt, or what would have you done? Asking them those questions. Crying is a common reaction to being overcome by powerful emotions like anger, fear, tension, or even happiness at any age. at any age, regardless, being highly sensitive, regardless going through traumas or not, right? So, however, some children weep more than others in comparison to their peers. These same children may also be unduly more thrilled or become more angry more quickly. Age and growth play a significant role in one's capacity to control strong emotions, right? So, for young children, experiencing strong emotions might make a life a little bit more challenging until they know how to regulate these emotions. And for this, I always say, even in non PTSD situations, as parents specifically, we need to learn how to regulate our emotions. If you do not know how to regulate your emotion, if you do not stop, pause, think, react, um, if you do not have that practice in times when you are calm, you cannot practice this in times when your child is triggered or when you are triggered. So these things, the pause, stop, reflect, then interact, or then react, or then act, these have to be practiced in calmer situations as rather than in knowing this and then not practicing it. And then I often say that we make dua that, Allah, whenever my death arrives, may I be reciting kalima tayyiba, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, la ilaha. But then, and this was me thinking about to me, and like, how many times do you do this tasbih in your everyday life? Like, how many times is la ilaha illallah a tasbih of yours? If it is not a tasbih of yours, how do you believe that something that's not in your practice in the times of ease is going to come to you in the times of when you are not mentally, emotionally stable to even think clearly? How? We believe that miracles just happen to us, but and they do, but majority of the time it's our character trait, it's our practice, it's our belief that we have practiced in calmer situations that help us in tougher situations. Same with the children. Children should be told that they are free to experience any feelings they choose, even extreme anger or fear. However, make it obvious that they have a choice of how they handle. So, yes, emotions are normal, emotions are common. You can feel emotions, but how you behave is totally your responsibility. Teaching them that having an emotion, having a mood, and um, playing it out are two separate things. You might be feeling grumpy, you might be feeling angry, and you might not have a reason for it, and it's okay. Something came over you. It's waswas, it's shaitan, it's hormones, whatever. However, then lashing out is not okay. Whether you're an adult towards your child, or whether you're a child towards your peers, your siblings, or your adults, right? You can control actions, and you can control your actions, right? And sometimes when you don't have words and you feel at loss and you feel that you might hurt someone or harm someone, then teach children certain statements, certain tasbih words like astaghfar. They need to see you practice it. They need to see you practice it to understand that this is somewhere where I go to regulate myself. Unless they see it, they will not follow it. Just listening does not help the children. They need to see the practice of the things that you're trying to teach them to do practically in different situations. Validate and relate. In any situation with any relationship, you need to validate, you need to relate, you need to know how to empathize with them, right? Parents can unintentionally downplay a child's feelings and say, stop being so emotional, stop it, it's not such a big deal, it's not such a big deal. I remember that when I was teaching at a school, and I had my co-teacher with me, and she was a highly sensitive woman, and she was relatively a few years older to me. So one day she came to the classroom and she was like shaking, and she said a cop told her to stop and gave her a ticket, and she doesn't know what she did wrong, or if she did not know if she was breaking the law, and she's shivering, and she just couldn't overcome the fact that early in the morning, when she was in a rush to get to her job, she was stopped by a policeman and she was given a ticket, and she said that the policeman was extremely rude to her, and she kept repeating the incident. She kept repeating the incident, and her young teenager said, "Ma, it's okay. You just got a ticket. You paid it online. It's not a big deal. Just get over it." And she said, It's the feeling that is settled in my heart, the fear that I felt because of the tone and the walk of the policeman, that I just can't overcome it. Now, definitely, I wasn't I wasn't a coach at that point, but I keep remembering that even as an adult, sometimes it's so difficult to overcome a certain strong experience that, yes, they're repeating it once, twice, 10 times too much for us. But giving that empathetic ear and telling them that it has passed and that they're safe, and it's okay, that they are feeling it right now. How and once they've talked about it, the follow-up question should be, how do you feel now about it? You're safe right now. It has passed for some time. Is it that strong? Is that emotion that strong still, or is it like becoming a distant memory to you now? Those are the questions that you need to ask to understand that, okay, they've got it out of their system, or it has become something that they can now cope with, right? It has just become a traumatic memory now. It's not a PTSD situation. It's not something that they're not validated about. Show acceptance. It's common to occasionally struggle with how to react to highly emotional children, right? It is also common to feel perplexed or overpowered by everything. Although you might not know why your child feels the way they do, acknowledging that you realize they're processing certain feelings, and that's okay, it might be helpful. Feeling seen and welcomed by others may be a huge benefit. Now, while reading exactly this sentence, I thought of something. I thought that sometimes when we as adults are not very regulated and we are going through our stressors of life, what happens is that um, we get triggered with the child's emotion, right? We do not know how to handle it. And once you do not know how to handle it, if the child is on a higher pitch, you will be on a more higher pitch than the child, which is extremely detrimental. And they will say that, just shut up, just go away, just this, just that. It's not helpful, especially if the child has slight PTSD or PTSD or is highly sensitive. This will not help them. This will actually trigger them more, which will trigger you more, because now they're not calming down, and all you want is for them to just keep quiet, just to go away, just to stop that reaction, or that thing that they're doing that's triggering you with. But they do not have that stop button in them by the point where they feel that they're not being seen, they're not being heard, they just keep pushing it further. So each person has a unique temperament, and your child's sensitivity is only one of them. So to ensure that the child understands that you value them just the way they are, not necessarily we're happy with how they are, how sensitive they are, but it is how they are, and accepting that quicker helps us calm down the situation faster. Teaching them emotional regulation by practicing deep breathing, to relax to count to 10, to take a break, to go away from the place and just roam around, breathe, think other things, maybe drink a glass of water, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, pray, come back, etc. Problem solve with your children. Work together to resolve the issue if your child's emotions are keeping them from engaging in an activity they like, such as playing with others because they cry all the time, or participating in physical education because they become upset when they lose. Get their opinion on any possible solution. With your help, they could devise some original remedies. Again, with age also. Not necessarily they will remain like this the whole time. They will change. They will change. They grow, and children show resilience all the time. Avoiding reinforcing outbursts. Sometimes the practice was, and I've read a few books which says, like, let them hit or punch the wall, or let have. What happens is now scientists and research tells us that the more you keep yourself in that position where you don't do the breathing exercises, or you do not know how to calm yourself down, and instead you're using force to keep punching until you're exhausted, you are raising your cortisol levels, and you're remaining in that stressed situation. You're giving your brain this idea that the situation is prolonging now. So if the brain is so focused, if your amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, is gone because the amygdala is telling that you're in a threat continuously, what's going to happen is that your cortisol levels will be high, and to calm down, it will take longer. It will take longer. So just letting out, yelling out does exhaust you, and you become quiet. But the internal struggle to calm down, takes longer, and that is more detrimental to your mental health, to your emotional health, and to your physical health. So I hope this point, and this was a very, very important point. Nurture empathy, helping your child become their best self, helping them understand empathy, helping them understand compassion, helping them do a work that is building character, for example, taking care of others, doing volunteer work, etc., etc., encouraging them to lift others up. The truth is that many children quietly carry out good actions in a normal course of their lives, whether it's cheering up their friends or when helping them out at a community, or helping people out at a community center, despite the facts that the tales of the children participating in bullying and other negative conduct frequently make headlines. Be sure to discuss the negative effects of negative behaviors like gossiping or bullying, and why and how it hurts people, as you encourage positive behaviors like doing something to make someone's day better. Alhamdulillah. Um, Teaching them good manners, treating them with kindness and respect, discipline, having a disciplined, principled life that they can look up to and they can follow. Now that's another beautiful thing that can happen, right? Gratefulness, the idea of gratitude, being grateful just for being able to see outside the window, whatever that they are able to see, the good thing, the bad thing, that they have sight, that they have hearing, that they can speak, or being grateful for the things that they enjoy in life, even if it's as little as a sip of water, a sip of clean water. Alhamdulillah. Giving them responsibilities and modeling good behavior. The reason that we discussed all of these points is not just for the PTSD children, or the adults who are going through PTSD. When you went through this, when you were listening, you might have come to the conclusion that this is something that we need to do every day in our normal life too. We have to be more cognizant, more careful about the people who have gone through trauma, who are suffering. And please do not suffer in silence. Please reach out to people, reach out to coaches, reach out to therapists, reach out to people who, adults who you think are trustworthy, and get help. Please get help for yourself or for your child. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve the people of Gaza and and Rafah, and wherever the Muslims of Sudan, and wherever they are in persecution, they're being persecuted. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve them of that misery and that pain, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate their honor in the heavens and on the earth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us as an ummah to be more compassionate and kind towards ourselves and towards the people around us. Ameen sum ameen. Jazakallahu khair, everybody. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us in these blessed days of Dhul Hajj that are coming up to make dua, to make istighfar, and to do as many good deeds as possible, and accept that from us. Ameen. Take care, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.